Bienvenidos a la presentación de Junto a la Ciénaga de los Gatos. Es la traducción al español de la obra By the Book of Cats de Marina, Carr, y los autores de la misma somos Melania Terrazas y Álvaro Martínez de la Puente Molina. Delante de sus pantallas tienen la portada de la obra, una foto cedida por la fotógrafa de viajes Fran Leclerc, como comentaremos después, y la contraportada. Ahí les dejamos información sobre el libro, cómo puede ser adquirido a través de la página de publicaciones del Servicio de Publicaciones de la Universidad de La Rioja, y la presentación de este libro estará disponible online a través del canal de YouTube de la Universidad de La Rioja posteriormente. Voy a presentarles a los participantes que nos acompañan en la presentación de la traducción. En primer lugar, contamos con la presencia del vicerrector de Investigación e Internacionalización de la Universidad de La Rioja, doctor Eduardo Fonseca Pedrero. En segundo lugar, nos acompaña el doctor Miguel Ángel Muro Munilla, lector de la traducción, y pertenece al Departamento de Filología Hispánica y Clásicas de la Universidad de La Rioja. También están con ustedes los autores de la obra, y también tenemos la suerte de contar con la presencia de la dramaturga irlandesa y autora de la obra original, Marina Carr, y por último, pero no por ello menos importante, al jefe de misión de la Embajada de Irlanda en España, el señor Rory Gerarte. Bien, pues voy a dar paso al vicerrector de Investigación e Internacionalización y damos comienzo a la presentación del libro.
Bueno, pues buenas tardes a todos y a todas. Muchas gracias a todos por su presencia. Tanto Marina como Rory, thank you very much for being here. Para mí es un placer como vicerrector estar aquí hoy con todos vosotros, y hablo también en nombre del rector de la Universidad de La Rioja. Voy a ser muy breve. Lo primero es por dar las gracias sobre todo a Marina y a Rory por su involucración en este proyecto, y también a Melania y a Álvaro por hacer esta adaptación al español, y también a Miguel Ángel por estar aquí hoy en esta presentación. Y voy a ser muy breve, pero yo creo que la presentación de este libro cumple muy bien con algunos de los pilares esenciales de la universidad, ¿no? Primero es que haya material publicado en español de calidad, y que sea adaptaciones de manuales importantes en otros idiomas, que eso es uno de los pilares fundacionales de la Universidad de La Rioja. Y por otro lado también cumple uno de los preceptos de la Universidad de La Rioja, que es la internacionalización. Entonces yo creo que aquí estamos digamos, en un contexto entre amigos, pero que sirve para tender puentes entre la Universidad de La Rioja y la embajada, y también con profesionales extranjeros, ¿no? Así que desde mi modesto punto de vista, pues nada más que agradecer el trabajo hecho tanto por el Servicio de Publicaciones como por Melania y Álvaro, y muchas gracias también a Marina y a Rory por su involucración, y que tienen las puertas de la Universidad de La Rioja siempre abiertas para seguir estableciendo esos puentes, esas comunicaciones, tanto ahora como más adelante. Y nada, pues que muchas gracias y a vuestra entera disposición.
Buenas tardes. Muchísimas gracias por haberme invitado a estar en este acto, y previamente por haberme invitado a leer esta traducción cuando se estaba haciendo por parte de mis dos compañeros y amigos, Melania y Álvaro. Como estaba diciendo ahora nuestro vicerrector, la publicación de un libro es un acto gozoso en cualquier universidad. Se trata de la plasmación de una tarea de investigación, de docencia, porque aquí se juntan los dos hechos. Y estamos en un tiempo en el que es necesario dejar evidencias, lo pongo entre comillas, ¿no? Es decir, no basta solo con trabajar, sino que además tiene que quedar algo de lo que trabajamos. Y no es fácil publicar libros, no es fácil hacer una traducción, y para eso somos profesionales. Somos comunidad del saber, somos personas, hombres y mujeres, que nos dedicamos a preparar las clases y darlas, a leer mucho, a pensar mucho y a que los libros y artículos que hacemos merezcan la pena. Y por tanto, encontrarnos hoy con este libro encima de la mesa, con un servicio de publicaciones como es el de nuestra universidad, involucrado y muy detrás de esta tarea, y con dos profesionales como Melania y Álvaro que se han metido en esta empresa y han sido capaces de sacarla a flote, pues es un motivo de orgullo para cualquier universidad y, como digo, también de mucha alegría. A mí en particular este tema me toca por mi amistad con Melania Terrazas y porque los dos compartimos, para bien de nuestros alumnos creo, la asignatura de metodologías de estudio de la obra literaria. Y por ahí es por donde nos viene, y a mí me viene por ahí también por Melania, el interés y el gusto por la obra dramática de Marina Carr. Hace ya varios años que Melania me propuso trabajar, que en nuestras asignaturas, en nuestra asignatura y en las prácticas de la asignatura trabajáramos con mármol, la traducción o la obra original de Marina Carr, y el resultado en estos años, pues ya son varios cursos, ha venido siendo espléndido, porque nos encontramos ante una dramaturga muy actual, capaz de plantearnos conflictos que revelan buena parte de las inquietudes, de las ilusiones, de las decepciones, de las expectativas que tiene cualquier persona actualmente en Occidente. Y en este sentido, como digo, investigación y docencia vienen de la mano y Marina Carr entra en ello como una grandísima autora, y es algo que agradezco. Agradezco a la autora, agradezco a los traductores el que podamos tener una nueva obra de Marina para disfrutar con ella. Y lo que sí espero, ya lo hizo Pepe Villuela, este fenomenal actor y empresario, lo que sí espero es que haya algún productor, alguna compañía de teatro que también se ponga manos a la obra para que esta nueva obra, junto a la Ciénaga de los Gatos, pueda pisar los escenarios en España, que para eso se hace el teatro. Muchísimas gracias a todos.
Thank you so much to both of you for your kind words and for inviting theater producer to perhaps well use this our translation and to set it on the stage, Marina. So hopefully that will be true, that will come true. Right, let me tell you how much of a great pleasure and honor is to celebrate the launch of our translation Junto a la Ciénaga de los Gatos with all of you today. And thank you so much for accepting our invitation. There are a number of entities without whose support this event could not have been organized, and we would like to thank you, to thank the University of La Rioja and the Irish Embassy in Spain, and more particularly Dr. Eduardo Fonseca and Rory Kerarty, respectively, for their invaluable collaboration in sponsoring this publication. Our heartfelt gratitude also goes to Vicerrectorado de Estudiantes and Énfasis for sponsoring the 5th International Seminar on St. Patrick's Day 2022, and to all the staff of the Communications Department, because their expertise has been most helpful in preparing for this event. We would like to thank the following people for their invaluable collaboration in the translation process. We will start by thanking the publishing services at the University of La Rioja for their professionalism, and many, many thanks to Marina Carr for her receptiveness and generosity. Marina, it was lovely to have you at the University of La Rioja in 2018, and it's a real treat to have you with us today, so thank you very much. Let us also express our gratitude to travel photographer Franz Leclerc, author of the front cover, for her generosity and kindness, to Patricia Vergara Terrazas, professional translator, who provided selfless help in the translation process. And also many thanks to Miguel Ángel Muro, Pepe Villuela, and Miguel Ángel Gómez Serrano, who revised the text in Spanish in an altruistic manner. We're also grateful to Bernardo Sánchez, Diana Luque, and Stephanie Schwerta for their suggestions and recommendations at the beginning of this project. Finally, let us also thank Irish poet and activist Sarah Clancy for introducing us to the Galway traveller community and for teaching us so much about them. Last but not least, we would like to thank our parents for everything they've done to make today happen. A continuación, nos gustaría comentar brevemente la relevancia e interés de nuestra traducción, el método que hemos seguido y, por último, los objetivos que nos marcamos al iniciar esta andadura. A finales del siglo XX, Marina Carr no solo contribuyó a transformar formalmente la concepción del teatro en Irlanda, sino que también mostró de manera innovadora las formas de control ideológico ejercidas sobre las mujeres a través del sistema. Esta revolución teatral liberó a muchas otras escritoras irlandesas a partir de entonces, artistas que dieron voz a los que no la tenían a través de sus obras. Así, By the Book of Cats es una obra en 3 actos que reinventa la Medea del poeta trágico griego Eurípides, y de esta forma Esther Cisneros es una figura transgresora, fuerte y una nómada irlandesa, una mujer marginada que se corresponde con la Medea bárbara. El dialecto iberno-inglés, junto con el de los nómadas irlandeses, así como los paisajes desconocidos de las ciénagas de las tierras medias irlandesas, desarrollan un papel fundamental en la interpretación que la tragedia griega posee en la relectura irlandesa, ya que la variedad dialectal es única en la zona y la ciénaga puede leerse como un espacio mítico, autóctono, con un trasfondo que hace que By the Book of Cats sea identificada como algo claramente irlandés. Todos estos rasgos lingüísticos y culturales convierten a la obra teatral de Marina Carr en una pieza bastante complicada de traducir al español. De hecho, por lo que respecta a otras traducciones de By the Book of Cats, solo existe una parcial del año 2009 en una variedad de español, conocida como austral, que se habla principalmente en Argentina y Uruguay. La finalidad de nuestra traducción, junto a La Ciénaga de los Gatos y su publicación, es comunicativa. Hemos tratado de solucionar los numerosos problemas a los que nos enfrentábamos y que tenían que ver principalmente con la traducción de elementos culturales y léxicos, la oralidad y las variedades dialectales de la obra original. También hemos prestado especial atención a la naturalidad, el realismo y la fluidez de sus diálogos, así como al lenguaje poético de toda la obra y a la idiosincrasia de sus personajes, muchos de los cuales habitan entre este mundo y el más allá. Otros aspectos que hemos plasmado en nuestra traducción son el uso del mito que Marina Carr hace en su obra, así como su conocimiento del folclore y la fantasía irlandeses para mostrar cómo Esther Cisneros se debate en cuestiones de identidad mientras cría a su hija Josie en una Irlanda del pasado reciente. De este modo, hemos tratado de reflejar cómo la autora examina el uso de la violencia psicológica perpetrada en contra de estas 2 mujeres nómadas, retratando así las consecuencias traumáticas que dichas protagonistas experimentan al no ser reconocidas por otros personajes ni como irlandesas ni como mujeres nómadas con una identidad étnica propia. El 1 de marzo del 2017, el primer ministro irlandés Enda Kenny anunció el reconocimiento oficial de la herencia, cultura e identidad únicas de los nómadas irlandeses por parte del Estado. Este anuncio histórico suscitó nuestro deseo de traducir By the Book of Cats al español. Deseamos que todas estas cuestiones fueran conocidas por los hablantes hispanos, sobre todo porque la representación que Marina Carr realiza de este colectivo y de su identidad cultural no solo es respetuosa, sino también extraordinaria. Pues voy a dar paso a mi compañero, amigo y traductor, Álvaro Martínez Lafuente.
Bueno, me gustaría comenzar explicando cómo surgió este proyecto, esta traducción de la obra By the Book of Cats. Pues nuestra andadura comenzó en el curso académico 2020-2021, año en el que recibí una beca de iniciación a la investigación y por la que estoy muy agradecido al Vicerrectorado de Investigación. debido a que ya tenía un interés anterior por la cultura irlandesa y por la literatura de este país, ya que había realizado mi trabajo de fin de grado sobre este país y su cultura, decidí que el paso lógico era volver a contactar con la doctora Melania Terrazas y continuar con otro proyecto relacionado con ello. Así que me ofreció una traducción de esta obra y me explicó que sería un reto, ya que nunca antes había sido traducida por su dificultad en relación a la variedad dialectal que presentaba. Por último, también me gustaría mencionar que complementé este proyecto con mi trabajo fin de máster, que se basó en implementar una unidad didáctica basada en esta obra literaria para cuarto de ESO. En cuanto a los retos que nos puso por delante esta traducción, el principal fue la adaptación del dialecto iberno-inglés de los nómadas irlandeses, ya que, bueno, presentaba múltiples dificultades. Así que tras mucho analizarlo y consultar con Patricia Vergara y con Miguel Ángel Muro, decidimos que la estrategia a seguir era utilizar un dialecto presente dentro de la geografía española, el de un grupo étnico de aquí, los mercheros, ya que tanto su cultura como su modo de vida, así como sus rasgos dialectales, presentaban múltiples similitudes. Así conseguimos preservar ese ritmo, esa sonoridad y naturalidad que Marina Carr presenta en el dialecto de los nómadas irlandeses. Otro problema fue que la obra presenta una gran carga cultural y étnica y, por tanto, debíamos tener mucha cautela y proceder con cuidado para evitar eliminar aspectos importantes. Teniendo en mente que nuestro público objetivo de esta traducción era la comunidad hispanohablante, las estrategias a seguir a la hora de la traducción y adaptación de esta obra fueron, entre otras muchas, las equivalencias culturales, así como las adaptaciones al contexto de diferentes elementos presentes en la obra a la comunidad hispanohablante. Entre ellos podemos hablar del nombre de los personajes, empezando por la protagonista, Esther Cisneros, pasa a llamarse Esther Cisneros, preservando así la importancia que tiene este animal dentro de la obra. Y por otro lado, otro personaje importante dentro de la obra, Carr pasó a llamarse Cabano Matamala, por un lado guardando la sonoridad de su nombre y por otro lado queriendo proteger o queriendo enfatizar ese sentido profético que puede tener su apellido. Y con esto doy paso a la autora de la obra, a Marina Carr.
Is it my turn to speak, Melania? Yes? Yeah. I think it is, yeah. Hello, Miguel, Eduardo, Melania, Alvaro, and Rory. It's a great pleasure to be here and lovely to hear the voices in Spanish. And I have great memories of my times with you, Melania, in Rioja. And when 2018, God, that's what, 5 years ago. And I remember particularly one restaurant you took us to in this winery, and my husband and I, we had a wonderful time.
In Cenicero, we went to Cenicero.
Yeah, and I think we spent the whole day eating and laughing, and then we went to the winery, and then we spent the evening trying out all these fantastic wines, so it was wonderful. By the Bog of Cats is a play I wrote a long time ago, 1998, so my God, it's a lifetime ago, quarter of a century for me. It's a very important play in my writing life, I suppose. And as you're well aware, with all the work you've done, the translation, it is its inspiration is taken from Euripides' Medea and all the mythology surrounding the Medea myth. That said, it's very much, I suppose, an Irish play, very much located in the part of the world I come from, County Offaly, the Midlands. So I imagine it was quite a challenge translating and transposing that into vernacular Spanish. And I think I picked up some of what you were saying in Spanish, certain words or whatever, but I'm not sure I quite understood how you did that. But I can imagine, I heard the word Andalusia, so I think there, am I correct in saying there's some connection in the Spanish you may have used? Am I correct in that?
No, we talk about using the ethnic group Gatos, so like the gypsy people here.
Okay.
So the most similar, so trying to use the most similar aspects regarding cultural identity, dialects, and equivalences. So no, it's not Andalusia. We didn't locate the setting in Andalusia. So we try to make it to preserve your play as much as it was. So to be as faithful to the original as possible.
I'm very happy to hear that, and look forward to trying to read it in Spanish. I have a little experience of working with Spanish, because I did an adaptation of Lorca for the Young Vic a few years ago, Blood Wedding, and I spent a lot of time researching Lorca. I mean, I'd known his plays and knew some of the poetry, but it really sent me back in. And obviously I was dealing with them in translation, but it gave me a great into I suppose Spanish culture, and particularly Lorca and Machado, two poets that I adore. So I feel very, very privileged to have work of mine in the language of Lorca and the language of Machado. One of the other things that interested me in my research, I found fascinating actually, was when Lorca was studying in Madrid at that famous university. I've forgotten the name of the Buñuel and Dali and all of them were at, you know, the place I'm talking about. They read, Sing had been published, and they read Sing in translation in English, I mean, before it was translated. And some of the experts say that John Millington Synge would be certainly a minor influence, if not quite a big influence on Lorca's playwriting, and not to claim the Irish, you know, in Lorca's brilliance or whatever. But I just think it was a very, very interesting correlation, because if you look at the plays of Lorca and you look at the plays of John Millington Synge, there are huge similarities and correlations between their themes and the areas that interest them. That kind of rural sensibility, that kind of back to the people, those kind of very, very passionate concerns, you know, Greek almost in their purity and passion and trajectory. So all of that, you know, it's all of that is, I suppose, a pulse or something I would aspire to in my own work. And Melania and Alvaro and Eduardo and Miguel and Rory and everybody involved in bringing this translation into the world, you have my absolute gratitude. And I have a little experience of having plays on in Spain, around Spain as well. And it's something that is very, very important to me. So I look really forward and with great anticipation and hope and praying to the gods that someone's going to produce your translation of By the Bog of Cats at some stage in Spain. We can have a big party at the Irish Embassy in Madrid and in Rio and at the National Theatre in Spain. So thank you all so much.
We will keep the fingers crossed, and hopefully it will happen. And we, Alvaro and myself, wrote an essay on the whole process of translating By the Bog of Cats in English. So we'll definitely send this essay to both of you, and so you will understand much better some of the issues that were mentioned in Spanish and you couldn't figure out. Okay? So now is time for us to listen to Rory Herati, the Deputy Head of Mission at the Embassy. So,
Pues voy a hablar en inglés, pero solo dar algunas palabras en español porque es un evento intercambio entre los dos idiomas y me gustaría practicar mi español. Es que es un placer para mí para participar en este evento y por la embajada para apoyarlos, porque por nosotros la promoción de cultura irlandesa es muy, muy importante. Y yo tengo muchos vínculos a esta obra porque lo estudié cuando estaba en UCD, la Universidad en Irlanda. So, para mí, muchos años después de mis estudios, para apoyar un evento, para promover esta obra, es fenomenal. So just to say, like, I studied this play when I was in UCD. I did a degree in English literature. So for me to be able to be participating in this event today and promoting this work and promoting Irish culture is very important. And a huge part of my work is reaching out around Spain, promoting different types of Irish culture. Irish theatre is particularly important to us. We have so many different playwrights over the years who've used it as a medium to talk about very, very difficult social issues, and to kind of shine a spotlight on Ireland and to look at how Ireland can be improved and made better. And I think it's very notable. This work premiered in the Abbey in 1998, and the Abbey has been at the centre of so much social change in Ireland. And it's also interesting that I saw, Marina, during the marriage equality referendum in 2015, you read Molly Bloom's soliloquy during an event to promote a yes vote in the marriage equality referendum. And the Abbey was a huge supporter as an institution of progressive social change in Ireland. And that event was very, very special. So throughout our history, it has had roles as an institution in creating debates around social change. And as you mentioned, Melania, in the event in 2017 with our then Taoiseach, Enda Kenny, and the Declaration of Traveller Ethnicity, it was hugely significant. And this play draws on very, very significant themes around the role of ethnic prejudice towards the travelling community in Ireland, the role of women and land ownership, the role of the outsider, classism, all of these different things, and with a lens of magical realism in the Midlands in Ireland, which is for many people an area of exploration. There's a lot of mysticism associated with it. As children, we go on tours often to the Midlands to look at the bog, and we're told legends about the bog, about things being found in the bog. So to bring all that together, Marina, in a work like this, but to also bring through very, very difficult themes, it's no easy feat, and it's quite remarkable that it produced this really good work that was able to do all of those things, like draw on Irish mysticism, bring in these themes that are very, very difficult to talk about, and to make us look at ourselves as a society and how we treat certain people based on their background. And I think that is part of the reason that it's been so successful and why it's travelled and been on the West End and through the States and now hopefully in Spain, is that this work is very, very important, along with many of our works of theatre, in looking at these social issues. And the Ireland of 1998, when the play premiered, is very different to the Ireland of today. When we've come through a series of social change in the last decade, the recognition of traveller ethnicity is one part of that. The marriage equality referendum, which I mentioned before, the repeal of the 8th Amendment, the advancements of further equality legislation in Ireland to protect various different minority groups, and also our current high levels of support for refugees who are coming from Ukraine. And we have become a very socially progressive society, and I think that's something we're very, very proud of. But returning back to the work, and not to talk for too much longer, I think it's great. It's something, as I said, I studied when I was in university, and I'm delighted to see it now available in Spanish. And I'd echo Marina's comments that I hope someone produces it, and produces it while I'm still here, because I'd love to go and see it. And we can have a talk again about whether or not we can have a party in the embassy.
Thank you, Rory. Thank you very much. Marina, perhaps you want to comment on some of the issues that Rory has mentioned now. Because we're talking about how respectfully and you recreate the situation of Irish travellers in the play, and that's that's very much appreciated. So respectful.
Yeah. Well, I suppose that Hester Swain, she's neither one thing nor the other, So her father is settled and her mother is a traveller. So she's an outsider really on both counts, She's neither in one world or the other. I always go back to the Greeks, you know, because these stories are eternal, and Medea is kind of she's the outsider as well. You know, she comes in with Jason, and she's the foreigner, she's alien to the culture, and she's cast aside when it suits Jason politically. He thinks there's someone better there, the king's daughter. And then her terrible revenge, and I suppose it touches on the desperation of the outsider. When you are obstructed and maligned consistently, something snaps, and then something terrible happens, and tragedy happens. And I suppose it does. It certainly touches on, and I'm no spokesperson for the travelling community, and I wouldn't like to assume I would be. There are lots of people within the travelling community who would speak much better for themselves than I would. That their ethnicity is acknowledged is a wonderful thing. You know, I think in many ways, I think they're as close to the Greeks that the Irish are now, in terms of their culture, in terms of their passions, in terms of their purity. This is just looking from the outside. I suppose the other theme that I've been told the play brings up is I suppose the situation of women in society, and how they have traditionally and historically been marginalised, considered somehow less. And there's the whole I suppose trauma that is carried by Irish womanhood from way back. So you have the whole colonial history that we all carry, and that trauma and what that did, and what it did to the language, what it did to our culture. And in a way, we're a nation that's recovering from that kind of axe in the soul, the mother tongue being taken, and having to navigate the world in the conqueror's language. And I think it was Frank McGuinness said that, you know, our revenge will be that we will speak English more beautifully than them. So what we speak is, we speak Hiberno English. And By the Bog of Cats is written in Hiberno English, and it's written in a very particular Hiberno English. And you will know, Melania, from your travels in Ireland, that you go 5 miles in Ireland and the accent changes, and the idiom can change, and there are certain phrasings and certain behaviours in the people, from county to county, from townland to townland. So there's not an homogenous Ireland. I'm sure the same goes for every country. But that, I suppose, would maybe By the Bog of Cats touches on that, touches on, I suppose, the struggle worldwide that women are involved in however they're involved in, to be treated with the same, I suppose, dignity and respect that has been the purlieu of men since recorded history. And one wonders why that battle is still going on. And it's such an ancient battle. I think it's out of the caves. And I think that's what the Greek plays are all about, that struggle. And I love these women in the Greek plays because they are all outsiders, actually. They are all fantastic orators. They're all standing there and saying, this far you'll go and no further. And they react and they take power. And of course, they suffer terribly for taking that power. Because for a woman to speak out is, even still, it's, you know, you get all sorts of labels, etc., etc. You know, the idea that women are retiring and that their voices are low, an excellent thing in a woman, as it's in Hamlet, her voice is ever low, and the idea of a brash, angry, raging, traumatized woman is not an attractive picture for any of us, but it is a fact of living. It's a fact of the culture. It's a fact of all the cultures. There are always women who are still struggling. We happen to be quite lucky, the part of the world we live in. It's relatively peaceful at the minute. But that could change like that. You don't know, and you don't know. Our freedoms are not guaranteed. They can turn on a dime. We see that in other parts of the world where, freedoms have been given for a certain time and then they're suddenly taken away, and how that leaves the people traumatized for generations. So, we all have a responsibility, I suppose, to guard those freedoms. And how do you do that? How do you do that without making enemies? How do you do that without, being incarcerated? And, how do you do that where we have a certain freedom of speech here in the West, a certain freedom of speech, but in other parts of the world, no, they don't have that. So I think these Greek myths and stories, these ancient legends, they all touch on this, and it's very, very important, I suppose, for us to think about these things. So, yeah.
Thank you for such a lovely answer to this question, and so true. And we hope that with this translation, people from Spanish speakers can also get to know more about the Irish travelers' cultural identity and all the issues you've just mentioned now about women and inclusivity and rights. I don't want to take much of your time. I know we know that you're very busy. You have very busy agendas, and also the participants who are here in person. So we would like to thank you for accepting our invitation and for this discussion, and we wish you a very nice Christmas break and Happy New Year, and we'll be in touch in the following weeks, right? And so thanks very much for attending the launch of the translation, and I think that's all.
Thank you, Melania.
Thank you very much.
You like to say, I think, the rest of the speakers?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
So we'll get in touch soon. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.